What's up, guys? I'm Matt Michaels.
I'm Aaron Sawyer.
And this is the Refresh Cast.
Refresh Podcast. What the fuck is up? What are we talking about today, bro?
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about spiritual growth and our individual spiritual awakenings, what that has looked like, what took place, and how we maintain and continue to progress.
I want to ask you, bro, what was your first sign or signal of a spiritual awakening?
And the very first time that I remember having some deep spiritual awakening, I was sitting on the couch. I was 25, sitting on the couch with my girl. We were watching Netflix or something, and it was just this instant download of, this is all fucking bullshit. This is bullshit. Everything that I care about is bullshit. I'm all at this time, I'm all gold chains and gold watches. I guess I still do that, but I was about it, obsessed with working out and bodybuilding and my physical appearance, and that's what gave me value. And at the same time, chronically sick and chronic pain, but I chose to be in pain so I could continue to look a certain way. But I just had this realization that all this material things don't matter at all. And I just started to being naturally drawn to books about Buddhism and meditation and starting to implement some of those things into my life. And from there, it just continued to progress. And in a lot of ways, things started to fall off. People started to fall off. And eventually I ended up in the state where my girl left me. I lost my job. I lost my health. And I lost all my money. And I had to move home.
That's a sweet spot right there for a spiritual awakening.
That's what it is, dude. So yeah, I moved home from Austin to Tulsa, moved in with my mom, cashed out my stocks from the place that I lost my job from, and I spent a whole year just fasting my ass off and working on my own personal development, journaling practice, and trying to heal myself. And that is really where my spiritual awakening started to take off in a positive direction.
Now, can I ask you what show you were watching whenever you realized
I have
everything
no
was
idea,
bullshit?
dude.
Okay, so it wasn't I was watching this thing.
No, it had nothing to do with
there,
that.
Bored as fuck. This ain't it. Mine was, I took LSD with my sister at Backwoods Music Festival at the ripe age of 18 years old. And I had these trippy goggles on, and I saw the UV rays of everything, and it was I was seeing auras, and I was like, this is the real shit. This is the real, I was seeing everybody's energy body, right? Mm-hmm. And then went to this Flower of Life dome, and they did my numerology, and fucking, then we canoed over to a Ferris wheel, dude, and I was well, because I was a frat god before, I was
really?
The same type, douchey weightlifter, fucking binge drinker, party kid, right? Then all of a sudden you canoe over to a Ferris wheel after realizing you're a master builder and fucking seeing fireballs coming out of your hands, and you're just there might be a little bit more to life, and I saw geometric patterns, and of course that's a trap too, the oops.
Yeah,
so many
sure.
people so many people think they're spiritual because they're going to the raves and seeing fucking psychedelic patterns, but that's not the real stuff, And so I quickly learned, I was so excited to tell everybody about the light, tell everybody about, man, I found this, dude, you can reach this higher level of consciousness and all this stuff, right? But then after a while, you start to see everything that isn't of the light, and you have to kind of, for me personally at least, I was having to piece together the parts of my psyche that were fractured. I remember I would go to McDonald's to get just a coffee, and just watch Fox News looking at the reptiles, man, this
looking
shit's
at the
fucked
reptiles.
up, bro, learning all the psyops and shit, and so really for me it was this, I saw the light and tried to tell everybody about it. They rejected it. And then I saw the darkness within, the light started to shine light on the shadow within me and within other people, and I couldn't turn back. And it got dark for a minute because I kept trying to trip my balls off, tried to get back to that same spot that I had found. But I do believe that I was spiritually protected that whole time because I was reading books, and I was in so many sketchy situations where I'm damn, this shit could have gone left so fast. you tripping balls at a frat party, you know, everyone's aggressively binge drinking. It's like, God was really looking out for me, bro, because I'm glad I was a seeker. I'm glad I was always knew that there was something more, and I never gave up when it came to finding a deeper meaning or truth once I woke up.
That's interesting, bro, because, like, so I've been aware of, like, the psyops and the conspiracy side of things since I was 16 years old, like, and always saw the darkness, but I never saw any light. And so, and it's interesting, like, I had tons of experiments doing hallucinogens during all of my druggy years, but it didn't really ever lead me to a higher state of consciousness at all. I was just getting fucked up, and it was fun to get fucked up, and had the realization, oh, like, this is all an illusion. Like, we live in a matrix, like, those types of thoughts, but there was nothing ever about, like, spiritual development and doing the work to actually grow myself.
I would trip balls and do yoga and breath work in the basement of a 100-year-old fraternity house, and people would be like, Aaron's lost his fucking mind. And I'm like, good, I don't need a mind. That's the whole key to enlightenment, you know? And it was really, I wanted to ask, like, so once you started, you said you started at 16, you kind of saw the darkness within everything and had a hard time focusing on the light. What practices now ground you into seeing the light? Like, maybe someone is watching this and they just started waking up.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Well, I think for one, I spent, 16 years focusing on the darkness, trying to find out what to psyop and what's not, and really focusing on all the crazy shit that's going on. And that the more you focus on the darkness, the more darkness that you have, you know? So I think the biggest thing was turning that shit off. Like, not giving a fuck about what is going on in the world or focusing on the darkness and what am I doing with my life? What light am I bringing? So taking my focus away from what's going on in the world outside of me and taking the focus on what's going on inside of me, you know? So, one of the first things that I was drawn to was meditation. And, meditation kind of sucks at the same time, but I knew that I needed it. And the more time you spend in meditation and introspection, the more that can come up that you can deal with. And so I think that was the key to me realizing some of the work that needed to be done and what I needed to focus on and not focus on. And that really brought me to the next step of journaling. So becoming aware of what my issues were and what I actually wanted out of life, and then actually putting it into action through a journaling practice of creating what I want through the written word, you know?
So powerful, bro.
And understanding that I'm doing this in the right now, and it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's going to be long term, but it's wild looking back that all that shit actually happened exactly how
it's
I wrote.
Real, bro. Like the power of the written word, especially pen and paper. That's something that I found before meditation. Like, I remember, like, after that day, I went back to the frat house and I was like, I found my soul. And they were like, Aaron's changed. And I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, I remember the next day, I took 2 days after, I walk out, I open the door, I take a deep, I go, and then I just jumped and, like, skipped off of the porch step. And they were like, yo, Aaron's fucking weird. Because I was like, finally I'd found the beauty in life. I could learn to appreciate the beauty in life. And, whenever you're walking around in that, whenever you're vibrating, bro, like, it's always going to be a test to, are you going to sink back down? And so it really, as a young man, like 19 years old, it really was kind of disheartening to see, like, you walk around, okay, I'm going to be the light, and then you just feel the weight of the world and the pressure, and you're in a college class, and you're like, what the fuck? This is not the light. Like, this is not the way things should be. And so journaling, and...
What's that saying that you say about journaling, about the truth?
Oh, dude, I mean, I don't even think it was me. Someone said it, the pass from the mind to the lips to the heart, and that's where, like, so it has to be, that's where, like, the truth starts to come out. Even if you start writing some negative shit, you can't really, like, I mean, you can write down a lie, but, like, for me, whenever I'm thinking, yeah, dude, I'm about to journal some negative shit. Like, I got so much pent up. And then, like, 2 to 3 sentences in, it's like, we are here to help you. Everything is going to be okay, And the written word for me was so powerful because I was, like, really seeing my musical potential. And I would just sip some coffee, microdose. I don't recommend that. You could. That's the best thing about journaling. You can do it completely sober. You can meditate completely sober. You don't need any of that shit.
Yeah.
You know, but
it's actually better off if you don't.
Yeah, it's way better because there's no crash. You know, and now I'm at a point where, like you're saying, like what you write down comes true. Yeah. And I wrote down some big ass goals for that very reason, because I knew that shit would come true. I would just have to. And I think the one thing that set people like me and Matt apart from the pack, if you will, is we didn't stop. We don't stop. We stay at it every day. I see so many people, like, you know, as things have expanded, there's certain energy sent my way that's envious or resentful or just straight up trying to tarnish me. And it's like, okay, well, who's showing up every day? You can't blame me because I never gave up and you didn't show up for what your dream was. So it's so important to write it down and don't forget to live it out.
Yeah, I think that's really important. What you said is when you teach people these things and they're like, oh, it didn't work. Well, yeah, it didn't work for me for 6 years, but I kept doing it and then it worked, right? So it's the repetition, it's the consistency.
I'm on year 7 and just started working.
Right, yeah.
But that's, I wouldn't want it any other way because honestly, bro, I wasn't mature enough to receive the blessings that I had asked for at 19. If I became a famous rap star at 20, I'd have been an idiot.
That's such a valid point that it actually was working before because it brought in circumstances and opportunities for you to develop yourself so that you could handle the things that you're calling in.
Yeah.
So you need that time. So for me, like, I needed my life to fall apart so I could learn some humility, so that I could actually sit in front of people and know what they've been through and not take pride when I help somebody because I know it's not me, ultimately. It's spirit working through me. And something else that you mentioned, another big part for me was this reconnection to nature. You know, we live in a society that's nature deficient, and we don't value nature. We live in the materialistic perspective, and we don't really even understand what nature is. The nature is essentially God. And I never was like an outdoorsy person at all, but once I started to awaken spiritually, I was like, I fucking love the sun. Like, I just want to sit and lay in the sun, and like, I want to go hiking, and I want to be out in nature and lay on the earth. And I think that's another huge part of that spiritual awakening, is getting back to a natural state of being, living the way that we were designed. We're designed to be a part of nature, not separated in our little boxes where we get in our box to drive to our box. You know, we separate ourselves as much as possible, and that creates a disconnection from spirit, essentially.
Yeah, and like, you know, I'm in that corporate life right now, and I've been implementing it in small, practical ways. Like, every day, whenever the sun's out, at about from 11:30 to 12:30, there's this little box of light that comes through my window.
Yeah, I feel that.
And so when that box of light comes through at 11:30, I sit in it and just download the light codes.
Right.
You know, and just I've had to, because, you know, in this last, especially as a man, whenever you're focused on the grind or whatever you're wanting to build, like, you can get so detached from anything that's not your work, your project, your goals. You can forget to stop and literally smell the roses along the way. And so, like, that's something a system I've had to create after just realizing, like, being deficient. Like you said, we live in a nature deficient society. Like, I'm like, dude, okay, I have to, like, set time aside every day to make sure that I go hug a tree. Go make sure I just go lay in the grass in the sun. Like, that will alleviate you of so much more. You'd be so surprised how many problems you can fix just by laying down in the sun for 5 minutes. You're like, you know what? It ain't all bad. Mother Earth, heal my back. You know,
that's a fact.
And so so we talked about kind of like what got us here and working up to this point. Well, do you feel like you've you know, reached up to where you're at now in terms of the spiritual awakening? Because I want to go to the depths. What's the future spiritual awakening? What about the awakened souls that are watching this, that have been on the path for a number of years? Like, where does it ultimately lead to? What do you think? You know, like, what is the final state of this? What are the other levels past this? You know.
Well, I guess I don't know yet, but I know what I want it to be, and it's like this constant state of, like, pulling the things out of you that aren't supposed to be in you, that are separating you from the light. So a lot of it, so for me, all right, the next step was actually getting into committed relationship and getting married, right? And then you have this mirror for yourself. So like, if you're on your spiritual path and you're like, man, I'm growing so much spiritually, I'm just like killing it, I really get it. And then you get into a relationship and you're like, oh, I'm still fucking shit, right? Because it pulls out the worst in you because you got that mirror. So I think the next level up is getting into that committed relationship. And that's where you can mirror each other to one another and continuously grow together. The masculine and the feminine, becoming God and perfecting one another. And then the next state after that is actually bringing life into this world and having a child, right? So if they say that relationships are the highest form of yoga, that's Justin shared with me. But now I'm thinking, having a child is probably the highest form of yoga, even above that, right? Because that's an exact mirror for, like, that's you. And you got to deal with that shit. So right now, since Callan's pregnant, that's what I'm like trying to prepare for that. I feel like Callan and I have done a lot of work, and I don't want to say we've mastered this relationship thing, but we've figured it out. Like, we know how to do this thing right now.
Get your thing in place where you know how each other operates, you love each other.
And we know how to communicate. So that next leveling up is learning how to do that with your child.
What's that incubation period like, bro? Since you're going public with it, I wasn't going to say nothing until
Well, it's not public yet, but this won't go out yet. But, like...
It's like, I'm still kind of keeping it a secret, even though I just...
Dude, I literally will blurt it to everybody. Like, stop it! But it's just like, I don't care. I want everybody to know.
It's not Facebook official yet.
It sounds like it's... It seems like he's probably going to be born pretty close to my birthday, so in October.
What's that incubation period like for you? Like, do you feel like a spiritual prep work? Is there a certain fire that's been lit?
Yeah, I mean, for one, I've been on this grind of building my business and this empire that I want of natural healing. And since I found out she's pregnant, it's just really, like, fast-forwarding that. Like, okay, where can I invest in myself? What coaches can I pay for to help me move up that ladder even faster? So there's no more time to waste. But the connection it's brought me and Callan is awesome. Like,
the way you look at it is different.
It's like totally different, dude. It's
a little
like,
baby in you.
And, like now, so it's always been where I have my spiritual practice and Callan's just living Callan's life. And now it's like every single night I do my meditation and she might do it for a couple minutes. I do my thing and then I come out of it and then we pray together and pray over it. And so it's like we are starting to merge together in our spiritual practices.
That's dope, bro. And like that conscious relationship being, because there is that path of, okay, I'm an awakened man or an awakened woman. Where in the fuck is my partner, dude? Like, for that, and then I'm just like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, like trying to wait for I'm waiting, but I'm actually super eager, so I'm pushing it away, and that dance is a step within the awakening process, like thinking it's the right person, and ends up being the completely wrong person. You get hit with the whoop-de-whoop after whoop-de-whoop, and then finding that person, and there's that euphoria of like, oh my God, this is my person, and then that's why me and Reb were celibate the first 6 months, because it was like, I know this is my person. Please, Aaron, for all that is good in this world, don't fuck this up, bro. And there's like, okay, I got it, so how do I keep it, right? And I think that for me, when it comes to the levels of spiritual awakening, like, I would really like to see God in everything all the time. I'd like everything to be, like, I've had these glimpses of it, reading The Power of Now, realizing the separation between the observer and observed. And I'm like, oh, and then I'm living in that silence for like a week. And then it's back to like being attached to your thoughts and emotions. And so like, I would love for me picking this water bottle up to be a spiritual practice, and I'm just like constantly connected to God. But in order for that to happen, bro, like what you're saying, you have to burn away all that is not spirit, all that is not divine within you, even though it's all divine, but like there's those egoic struggles, like would if you were Yogananda in the flesh, would you be looking at Thickstagram, bro? For all of you, I know somebody here is probably peeping booty, Like, is that your highest self, bro? Is that very Yogananda of you, bro? Probably not, dude. And so, like, whatever it is, fucking watching rom-coms, dude. Everyone loves a good rom-com. How do you stay Yogananda while watching your rom-coms, you know? Or fucking eating Cheetos. How you gonna be awake and eat a Cheeto, bro? Now you're farting all the time. It's like, now your farts are your spiritual practice. Your temple. You know what I mean? But then eventually, like, I really think the 5D, quote-unquote, awakening of humanity would be like, we're here in the physical until we're not, but like we're here in the physical, then you close your eyes and you're in your God body, bro. Like your completely ethereal body is woken up. You're in that state of hyper consciousness constantly. Like as soon as you close your eyes, you are, you know, the ascended master in meditation, levitation in the center of the multiverse, you know.
You know, there's that idea that, you know, in the Bible it talks about the 144,000 that will
I'm one of them, by the way.
Well, like 144,000 is the frequency of unconditional love. So it's you reach the state of unconditional love, and then that is reaching that God force consciousness, that Christ consciousness, and that's the whole point. So, and that comes back down to every person that you deal with that you have resentments toward, that annoys you, is a mirror back to you, because there's no separation between you and them. So every situation, every interaction is an opportunity for you to become your highest self and put that Christ consciousness into action. And I think that's where it also comes down to, if you're focusing on the darkness, if you're focusing on the fear, well, that's going to keep you from raising to that level of unconditional love, because you're always focusing on the darkness. So seeing every obstacle, every situation as your opportunity to become your highest self and walking in that. And I think that that's ultimately what it's always about, is having that perspective that everything is working out for your good, because it literally is.
Yeah, that got me fired up, bro. Like, you know, because you can know intellectually it's God mirroring God, testing your capacity to love, but then someone ignores you at work whenever you know they heard you, and you're like, God's playing a trick on God today, huh? And my inner God is like, this pussy motherfucker gotta go, bro. Mark, you think I'm a mark out here, bro? It's like, well, that's the dance, right? Like that's gonna keep happening until I can consistently just remain open and loving. But like, it's like on some surrender experiment shit. A lot of people hold on because they don't know what's going to happen whenever you do fully surrender. Like, because maybe when I'm fully surrendered in my God, recognizing God, so that's why they say enlightened people, that's why some enlightened people look crazy as fuck. Because like, in my fully enlightened state, maybe I'm like, hey, I know you heard me. What's the big idea? You know, it's like God got fired. God got to find a new job. You know, and it's like I see that a lot. Like that's something in the last 7 years. You know, the last 3 years specifically, it's been like, you know, up until recently, it was like I kind of was selling out on the spiritual path. I was kind of burnt out. I'm tired of hearing about spiritual shit. I'm tired, you know, and it's easy trap to fall into. I became a little bit jaded because I'm like, I wasn't really putting that effort in forward. I was just trying to maintain to not backslide, which led to backslide.
It's like you're taking in more information, you're reading, you're learning, but you're not doing it. You're not putting it into action. And that is the next step, and I think that's a place that I stayed in for a long time, is you absorb information, you're reading, and that does start to change you, but if you don't actually implement those things and embody those things, then there's no point. And it will make you jaded. So, but once you start doing them, that's what really helps you move through life in such a different way. I mean, we were just talking before we got on, it's like, I miss my practice, and then that leads to a series of other ways that I self-sabotage and don't follow through with my commitments, and then I start having these resentments towards people and talking shit on people, because really it's all a reflection of how I'm feeling about me. But that is that growth in the spiritual practices, realizing it's, you know, they always say the world doesn't revolve around you, but in reality, it does revolve around you. It's funny that they would say that, because literally the whole world does revolve around you. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner that you can actually grow and become a better version of yourself.
And there's a responsibility that comes with that. Oh, fuck. My world revolves around me. I better not fuck it up.
Yeah.
Because I could see whenever I start selling out, I sell out on my people. That my people think it's okay that they can start slipping and sliding, you know? All right, so what do we got? This is the process of spiritual awakening. Any final words for the awakened listeners out there? All those 12 people for this is our 4th podcast. But, you know, we're going to clip it. We're going to snip, clip. We'll get into that. We'll get into that in a later topic. You know what I mean?
Some circumcision.
Yeah. The fucking.
Bro, actually,
They took me.
We just had a meeting with our midwife. We found a midwife that's completely the natural, and we did go deep into that conversation. I learned a lot, bro. Anyways, that's a side topic. But hey, Justin, do you have any wisdom that you want to drop for the people over here, bro?
You want me to come over there?
Yeah, come over here, bro.
Talk about it, bro. We're gonna switch. But goodbye.
Oh, yeah, you're electric, brother. Justin Wallis here. I don't know. What do you want me to expand on?
Share some of your experiences. Like, what was your experience, your past?
My past and my experience was that I spent about 26 years in the dark night of the soul. It culminated with me being about 117 pounds with no veins in my arms, legs, or neck. Intervention of God, the angels came in the form of the Tulsa Police Department, where they took me to David L. Moss, where after about 2 short weeks, they hogtied me and drugged me to mental health seg, where I sat for 30 days losing my mind.
So you're detoxing in there.
It was 2 weeks after, so I had already detoxed. And I started nutting up.
Did they give you some drugs?
No, they didn't give me anything. I had a little bit of what I snuck in, but that didn't last very long. But I started I went into what I thought at the time was a psychosis, which what I later learned it couldn't have been or I thought was a psychotic break, but what I learned was it couldn't have been because people don't typically just bounce back. And so after years of journaling and self-exploration and looking at the circumstances, what I came to understand was I had lived my life so full of lies, so full of deceit, so full of chaos, so full of drama that I had no will to live, and the powers of the Spirit, God, Creator, whatever you want to call it, came down and said, no, I have a different plan. And what I came to understand was it was the hand of God that shook me so hard that I had no other choice but to confront and look at all the lies and confusions and dishonesty that my life had become. And I had to realize that it was me. I did it. I blamed everyone else. Yeah. And so really that was like the culmination of my 26 years of the dark night of the soul, and the beginning of me taking a step out of that and into a path of really self-exploration, really a life of servitude, really just like a place of hey, how do I take that amount of energy I put into self-destruction and put it into self-construction?
Yeah, for sure.
And so that was really the thing, because I saw everything. I saw things that came to fruition and played out over the next following years. I saw things happen, and there were moments of clarity where all the chaos and all the hallucinations and all the mental noise that was going on in that 24-hour-a-day lockdown cell would just stop, and there was an audible voice that came in and said, just don't use drugs again, you can have the world. You know what I mean? And I came to understand that was just my moment of clarity, my moment of, hey, look. And it's not to say that 26 years was lost, or it was not fruitful. It took 26 years for me to wake up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I believe, for my belief structure, there is a past life and past karmas that I was resolving and working through. And so that led to meditation practice, which led to more practices, which led to bhakti yoga, which led to chanting, which led to hatha yoga, which led to kundalini yoga, which led to teaching, which led to helping people in all different arenas. And to me, like, that is the spiritual awakening. The spiritual awakening is realizing that the work is to lift others up. The work is to help others grow, because it's that dissolvation, that dissolving of the ego to say it's not all about me. But it is. It's like a bit of a paradox. You know what I mean?
You got to take that radical responsibility to change yourself and become the best version of yourself so you can help others do the same.
Right. And that's what it is. It's a radical responsibility. But the paradox that I was talking of is the more that I help others, the more that I help myself.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? It's
I
like
know what you mean.
It's a trip, because one of the things that one of my teachers said along the way was, if you really want to learn something, if you really want to understand it and you really want to embody it, teach it. You know, and so for me, like, that was the spiritual awakening. Like, not only did I have more to offer, but I'm here to help people. I'm here to love all, serve all, and remember God.
I love it. So what does your practice look like day to day now?
My current practice is in the morning. I found over years of practice that the best way for me to stay grounded and stay God-centered is to have that practice in the morning. My current teacher says, you know, there's the witching hour anywhere between 3 and 5 a.m. is really the sweet spot. Mine is more like around 4:30 or 5 currently.
Mine is 6.
Yeah, well, hey, you know, you got to start somewhere. Mine used to be 7 or 8, but and I do, you know, I'll chant, and then I'll do some movement, and then I do some breath, and then I do some silent meditation. Just focusing on the breath and just like really internalizing like what's happening.
Yeah. So how does that play out? Because I know that you're married, you have a son. So what is your perspective on that as far as your own spiritual development?
Well, I was listening to you all talk about those things earlier, and you said something that is very, very, very impactful and true, and that's we're all mirrors of each other. And Ram Dass, whom I adore and follow, and is largely responsible for my current path, his teachings, anyways. So you know the highest form of the highest form of yoga, or the toughest yoga, I don't remember exactly how he unpacked it, is the yoga of relationships. You know, you get into that relationship and you can't help but see yourself in your partner, and all of your most endearing qualities come to the surface, and you're like, oh, and so you see that stuff, and then you have the opportunity to transcend it and turn it into something beautiful. And so, you know, and then you said something about a child, and you know, it's like that's even another level, because it's raising children is challenging, beautiful, and they are great teachers, because you can look at a child and see just how free they are. And so then there's the opportunity to break the generational trauma, break the generational curses of all the things in life that you were taught erroneously in your upbringing. You know, you have a choice. Am I going to continue to pass this down person to person, generation to generation? Or am I going to step outside the confines and the constructs that I was taught and say, I'm going to break that pattern, and I'm going to allow my child to feel anger, feel love, feel sadness, all the things that I was told, and I'm sure you were told, hey, don't cry. Yeah. Oh, wait, you're angry, go to your room. Or you know, hey, don't be too happy, or whatever the storylines are. But what I'm saying is that really you're forward the opportunity to examine those patterns and those conditionings that were taught to you at an early age and transcend them. And then not only that, but serve your flesh and bone, like I was talking about earlier. You know,
it's powerful. Any last words?
No, just grateful to talk on the topic of spiritual awakening. And my understanding is a spiritual awakening is just that. It's a slow and progressional awakening. Like the unconsciousness is flowing away, and you're waking up and becoming aware. Somebody whom I respect a lot once said to me, you know, the whole trip is just to slow down and become aware.
I love the unconsciousness flowing away. That is good. That is good. All right, man. Well, thank you for sharing.
Thanks for letting me come.
Yeah, absolutely.